Okay, we would like to call the special meeting to order. We do have a quorum. Stan Eldridge, Karen Rowe, Monica Ross Williams, Larry Doe. And who else? Did I get everyone? I did. The first item on the agenda is request of Michael Sarin, Hydro Operation Manager, to authorize the supervisor and clerk to sign for the RECs, which are the contract for renewable energy credits. We do this every year. Oh, Heather joined us. Hi, Heather. We need a motion for you.
So moved.
Support.
Motion Doe, support Rowe, Heather Rowe. Is that correct? No.
Lovejoy Rose supported it.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. Is there a discussion on this? We do this every year, the hydro credits. We put them towards the energy in our buildings in Ypsilanti Township. Michael Sarin, I'm not sure if Michael's on here or not. This is an annual thing that we do with the hydro. Any questions on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is a request of Carl Rousey, our compost site director, to approve the following for construction of a new compost pad for a total amount of $137,161. A is to accept the low bids from Michigan Cat for $10,587 and Farmer Underwood Trucking in the amount of $54,000. And B is to waive the financial policy for single source supplier for GeoTurf in the amount of $12,574 and Cadillac Asphalt in the amount of $60,000.
So
Clerk
moved.
Rowe. Support Clerk Rowe.
So moved.
motion.
Ross Williams.
Motion, Heather Rowe, support Lovejoy Rowe, was that correct?
No, Ross Williams moved the motion.
I'm sorry, Monica. Motion by Monica and supported by Lovejoy
Clerk
Rowe.
Lovejoy Rowe supported.
Got you. All right. Item is Carl, my man is here on the Zoom. Are there any questions on this?
No.
If you have any, we're here. No? I see that Jimmy Wilson is joining us as well. So this is basically a pad for the compost, and it was because we expanded with Canton, and we need to have the this for the additional capital site improvement. We've been planning on it for a while, and Carl has taken the lead, of course, and as usual, done a great job putting everything together for the board agenda as well as managing the site. There might be an opportunity, Carl told me today, for a reduction in costs because the Washoe County Road Commission may actually have some millings for us, which would be substantial reduction in cost. Carl, do you have anything else you'd like to add to it?
Yes, and I agree. That was something that I didn't want to put on the actual board packet. It is some material that's going to come off our existing roads that would majorly offset this amount, but because it's just talk and it's not confirmed, I did want to just move forward with a known, which is Cadillac Asphalt. But at this point, there could be a strong possibility that the trucking and the material cost would be a cost savings to our township, and we can pretty much cut this pad down to just rental equipment and material. I mean, excuse me, geotextile fabric.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Jake. Uh-oh, broke up.
I'm sorry, Heather, did you say something? All in favor? Jimmy is here as well, so he's voting on.
Yes.
Good. None opposed, the motion carries.
Yes.
Okay. Everyone's in
you.
favor. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is a request of Clerk Lovejoy Road to accept the grant from Tech and Civil Life in the amount of $35,445 and authorize the supervisor and clerk to sign. And we do have to complete this after the election, so before 11/20/20.
Yeah, we have to get, yeah. We can go ahead and spend the funds as soon as we sign this grant and submit it together with another form I already submitted. Within 2 to 3 days, they'll be wiring us a transfer for the entire amount, and then we can spend the dollars. And it's basically on anything that has to do with COVID expenses and also to do with the increase in amount of absentee ballots. And then we have to give a very general summary of where we spent the funds by January something, but we'll definitely try to do that right after the election when it's fresh in our minds. And we're kind of pushing everything into a special file right now that we know that we could charge back to that. It's a great opportunity that they gave to us. It's a private nonprofit that is doing it, I think, throughout the entire United States. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Do we have a motion and support?
So moved, Gerald Rowe.
Motion, Carol Rowe? Support?
support Karen Lovejoy Rowe.
Okay, thank you. So we authorize the signing and just to make sure we can get this completed, Clerk Rowe, prior to you leaving, so we can get it wrapped up, which I think we can, right? Because we'll know our expenses.
Exactly. No, right. No. Exactly.
Awesome. Any questions? And great job of going out and getting this, or I don't know how you found out about it, but what an awesome opportunity for the clerk's office and the township and the residents to be provided these extra funds. We have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is a request to authorize the third agreement from Washtenaw County Road Commission for crack sealing in the amount of $14,000.
So moved, Clerk Lovejoy Rowe.
Support, Gerald Rowe.
We have a motion and support to approve this. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The last item on the agenda is the request of Mike Hoffmeister and myself to approve the new waste management agreement or extend the existing contract if the new contract isn't approved by their legal counsel and authorize signing. We did at 2:30 receive their revised draft agreement. Our team hasn't had the opportunity to look at it since it was 2:30, and but we do need to authorize the new rates effective October 1st. And it's up to the board if they would like to authorize the signing of it contingent upon our attorney's approval, or we can bring it back to another board meeting.
So moved or approved, Eldridge.
Support Ross Williams with attorney approval.
So we have a motion to authorize the attorney to approve it and the signing once the attorney approves the agreement.
Yes.
Yes.
Questions or comments?
Just again, Madam Chair, you mentioned it in your email earlier. For those that were on that committee, Larry, I think Giovanna, Doug, and I know Mike Hoffmeister, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of work. I tried to read it since 2:30. It's very complicated, but you guys did a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate them as well. The biggest, the cost is the biggest change, and as well as recycling, there's language that we've never seen before that we need to better understand in regards to contamination costs, and there's new language and a formula for if they lose revenue, and we don't have a clear understanding. If waste management loses revenue, it's impossible to budget for that, and we just really, to be honest, don't understand that language. They've made a lot of the changes that the team has suggested, and we're really, really close. So once we tie up that loose end, I think it would be fine. Mr. Winters, would you, and Mike Hoffmeister, Larry, Giovanna, I don't know if you have any other comment.
Well, as you indicated or stated, the negotiating team has made a number of revisions over the last couple of weeks to waste management. Brian Conaway is their designated person for waste management. And some of these were the result of getting feedback even from residents in regards to the 96-gallon carts. Some people are just too heavy to handle, and they wanted the option of dropping down to a 64-gallon cart. So there are a number of things that were suggested and improved upon. There's also in here, in this contract, the opt-out language for recycling if after 1 year. However, that opt-out comes with the understanding that waste management would have to have at least a 50% buy-in on a subscription basis from township residents to continue recycling. So a lot of these issues in regards to costs, picking up waste that may be contaminated, going to landfills, the uncertain issues pertaining to those kinds of costs, you can only probably define it so well before you actually see how it's going to be working actually in real time. But I think right now that we're probably, I would say 90% complete towards those revisions. And the ones I saw today that I was looking for from a legal standpoint, I think we're met pretty much. There are some typos in the contract and things that need to be cleaned up. I know Mike may have some other comments in regards to the cost component in regards to contamination of waste that would have to be separated and taken to a landfill. And I think a lot of this also may come down to educating even to a higher level, all of our residents. We also attached as an exhibit to this contract, for example, what the types of bulk items that are allowed to be picked up as part of that agreement. So Exhibit C sets forth in a pretty good list as to what types, what is meant by bulk items. So anyways, I'll let Mike chime in if he wants to.
Karen, mute your phone.
Oh, sorry, honey.
That's okay.
I almost got killed.
Oh, Lord.
So Mike, if you want to chime in on some other components that you've been looking at today, again, it's been over here for a couple hours, so we've not got through it with a fine tooth comb.
Yeah, I think as Attorney Winters mentioned, the majority of our requests have been met. There are a couple other red flags that we would like to address when we have a moment to sit down and go line by line. The big changes is the price. The other big change is the 96-gallon cart. And then, of course, the opt-out clause that Attorney Winters mentioned as well. So we're going to continue to go through it. I would be in favor of allowing the 3 elected officials to approve the contract of pending Attorney Winters' recommendation so that we can get this out the door quicker. And I also appreciate the Director Neal and Larry and Supervisor Stumbo and Attorney Winters for helping me along this process. It's been a learning process, and I'm excited to move forward with it.
Thank you, Michael.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Trustee Ross Williams?
Yeah, I have a couple questions, just by going through what was sent at 2:30. Okay, so going down to the pricing schedule, it says monthly charges for garbage, recycling, yard waste per residential unit, and that's from October 1st through September 30th, 2021. I also noticed that they put in, where is this? Fees and payments, section B, an annual increase listed. Yeah, 4%. Is that why they don't have the rest of the charges laid out here? Because if it's a 4% increase, right, and that's yearly, you would think that would also be able to be in Exhibit B for each year. The increase is scheduled to take place of 4%.
The total per month per residential unit pickup is $13.05.
Right.
So that's 4%. increase every year above that per unit cost.
Right, I agree. I guess my question is that, would it have been possible for them to also include that, basically maybe even with lines underneath? So September, I guess it would be October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2022. And add a line that would have said, okay, this is 1305 for this year, and then it's a 4% increase, so it's going to be whatever it is for the next year. Yeah, does that make sense? It's just not laid. It's not laid out in Exhibit B. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, it's not laid out.
I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
It would be easy to add, but the statement of 4% above that every year, but it would be clearer, I guess, if it had that little box in there that include all the years in it.
Yeah, that was just
Yeah,
a question. Yeah.
You might have
Okay,
to have an asterisk on those following years, because I don't know if you're going to opt out or not on the recyclables. So you can probably run a 4% for years 1 through 5, but it's always going to have a footnote that's going to be somewhat dependent upon whether or not you continue with the recycling. So
Yeah.
just keep that in mind.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just concerned because it is a contract, so always want to try and make sure everything is specified. And I agree with Attorney Winters about the asterisks as it relates to recycling.
and for budgeting purposes, the biggest challenge is going to be on the contamination rate. So, or if there's no market for recycling, they take it to the landfill. And that's new language, and I know it's happening across the United States in recycling. There's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of communities opting out of recycling because of what's happening with the market. And we just need to make sure that we understand the formula and what they're going to charge us. So the contaminated container rate is whatever the MRFs charge that year. So we don't know. That's not a constant number either. It could go up. It's hard to, we do a look back and try to, determine what we can. But when we started this contract, Clerk Rowe, I'm not sure if you're still with us, but we actually made money on recycling. And now we paid what, $174,000 last year for contaminated material. I think it was also material that's not being able to go to market, but so it went from making money to paying $174,000 in additional costs. And that is going to be the hardest part to budget from our end, in my opinion. And if they lose money, I don't know what that means. They need to show us an example. But if waste management on page 6, operating or profit margin cost may be put into the fee that they're going to charge us. So that's unusual language, totally new, and we need to get a handle on it. We do have the option of opting out. Right now, we did a brief study. Robin Castle-Hines went around and followed the recycling truck. We have about 44% on those 2-week period of people who were recycling. They will do a subscription based to every home, like they do in many other communities, but only if there's a 50% recycling. So we're paying, 100% for 15,000 people to recycle, 15,000 units, and little over 40% are actually participated in those 2 weeks. So like Doug said, it will be a lot of education, information, and trying to get our numbers up, and also understanding what our actual costs could be. And our that budget is tight anyways with the current millages. So we really, as a new board, will be studying this and put a committee together to see what we can do, can't do, what the community wants, etc.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just was curious, over the 2-week period that Robin was able to do that for us, was that like she did each route with them, or at least each, somewhere through each neighborhood?
She went through each route. She followed the recycling truck.
Okay.
So the entire 10 days, because we have A week and B week. I
Yeah.
would like to receive a longer period to see, how
Yeah.
people recycled, and Waste Management will not tell us how many stops they go to.
I see.
I believe they have the information, Heather,
Mhm.
because they have their GPS system, but they will not share that information. So we'd have to do a more in-depth study for a longer period of time to
Oh,
really.
and maybe, like through the winter or fall. Like, I don't know if it fluctuates by season or not. But.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't either. So,
Mhm.
I mean, we're at a pretty good number for the 2-week period.
Yeah.
Good question.
Madam Chair, I did have another question.
Madam
Sorry.
Supervisor?
Trustee Ross Williams, then Clerk Rowe.
Yeah, my question, I know you spoke about page 6. The information that was emailed over at 2:30 does not contain a page 6. It has 5 and 7, but 6 is not here. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out. And then,
Excuse me, what are you talking? I'm trying to
yeah.
find.
Oh, no, I'll be clear. So the municipal solid waste recycling and yard waste agreement, that was what was mailed over, I think around 2:30ish. Yeah, and you had mentioned something about page 6 because I was trying to go and find it, and it doesn't have a page 6. It has a page 5 and 7, but 6 is not here.
Oh, I'm sorry, 6. Okay, I thought you said.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the last question that I had, the township facilities, those are our township facilities, so those prices would not change, correct? That's on page 7.
That is you mean for the pickup of recyclables?
Yeah, it says like the Civic Center, 1 6-yard, empty weekly trash, and then it also talks about the Civic Center recycle 1 6-yard empty.
Right, they
weekly
pick up
recycle.
our recycling costs.
Okay, so these charges are not changing over the time of the contract, correct? Those are set charges.
That's not my understanding, but.
Oh, okay.
4%.
Okay, yeah, because that would be my only comment. If those are not set charges, they would probably need to, update future boards. Because I don't know if that includes that 4% that's talked about over on the annual increase. It may, and if it does, then okay. I guess that would answer that question. But if it doesn't, then they probably want to update future boards on whatever increases those are.
Thank you. Good point. We'll get clarity on that as well. Clerk
Yeah,
Rowe,
thanks.
good question.
Yeah, my question was, so do we have a year to decide about recycling in the contract?
Do we have what, hun?
How long a period do we have to decide whether we're going to continue with township-wide recycling or not?
1 year.
It's 1 year, okay. It's not a whole lot of time. My other question was, so were you able to negotiate the smaller trash garbage can or what?
Yeah, it's a $25 exchange rate because they contract that out to a third party.
So if someone wants the smaller one, they pay $25 and then they get it for the rest of the contract for free.
Yes. Wait,
All right,
did you say
Did you say if I want a smaller one, I have to pay $25 for them to pick up the big one and bring me a small one?
that is correct?
Thank you.
Supervisor Stumbo?
Is it possible? I'm sorry, Stan. Just a follow up? Was it possible I'm not sure. I know I've gotten a few phone calls, I think maybe 3 or 4 that people that want to do that. Is it possible for us to provide that so that our residents don't have to get charged?
Karen.
Or we just don't have the staff?
And we tried to get that and they would not waive it. So
Okay. All right. Thank you.
we keep trying.
I know.
They're pretty hard lined on that one. They may do an exchange rate at no cost before a certain date. like next week, if people call in and want to exchange, they may do it at no cost. But they haven't put that in writing.
All right, thank you.
Good question. Michael Hoffmeister?
Yes, I'd just like to add some clarity on the opportunity to opt out of the recycling. And the question that trustee Ross Williams had is that it states anytime after the first year. So we don't necessarily have to make a decision after the first year, but we are not allowed to do it until at least after the first year.
Thank you. And what about the 4% on the recycling containers?
My interpretation is that everything that is in Exhibit B is to get the 4% increase, but we will ask for some clarity on that. The way that it's written, it says that entire page is the 4%.
And Madam Chair,
Yes, trustee.
if it would be, thank you. If it would be possible to get page 6, just to make sure that the board can review that, that would be great. Thank you.
Yep, I will do that. I just sent over as quick as I received it. I will get it out. I apologize for that. Mr. Winters, did you have any comment?
No, I think that as far as that 64 gallon swap, I don't know. It may be subject to their inventory too. I don't know, Mike. I don't know if they actually, how many they actually have at any given time. I don't know if they're trying to transition away from those altogether. I just don't know exactly. I think it might be, again, subject to the available inventory. So again, there's a number of different issues. Like Mike was saying, after the first year, you might not have enough information to determine if you wish to opt out or not. But the 90 days is a requirement. If you do decide, you give them 90 days notice. I mean, I'd be kind of curious to see what the actual tracking or the actual amounts would look like once the COVID has pretty much been contained, only because I don't know if people are doing more recycling during the COVID months or if they were doing less recycling. I think you might see some differences once the pandemic is behind us. It may not be for another, this time next year. So again, I think that from my perspective anyways, to get a real good feel as to how many people are really participating, it might take 2 full years. I just don't have a good handle on whether or not the following the trucks for 2 weeks gives you the real number. At the same time, I don't know what element of impact that was also affected by the pandemic. So that's why the committee is important to get started as soon as possible. And I think that Waste Management has also agreed to be involved in that committee so that we can try to get the best information, the most accurate information, because if you do end up deciding to stay with the recycling component, then there's been also a discussion about whether or not that would be through a separate millage as well. So there's a lot of different moving parts in regards to what options the board is going to have going forward.
And we do know the current millage will not sustain this new contract.
Correct.
Okay, we have a motion and support to authorize the signing of the new waste management agreement contingent upon the attorney's approval, and that October 1st the billing for the new rates will start. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. Thank you. The next item is budget amendment number 12. Since Clerk Rowe is driving, I will read it. We have a request to increase the budget for additional election workers, overtime and township staff, election supplies, including additional scanner and rental space at the Marriott, Moose, and Golf Club for the upcoming November election. The township was awarded the grant from the Center for Tech and Civic Life, which is a nonprofit organization in the amount of $39,445, and it will be funded by this grant. Under the fire fund, it was request to increase the budget for the first responder hazard pay premiums program. The township received from the state to pay our first responders $1,000 each for hazard pay during the pandemic, and the amount was $27,000. There was an request to increase the budget for the purchase of trees to be planted at the parks, and this is funded by a reserve account for trees replacement in the amount of $5,500. A motion to approve the budget amendment.
So move.
Motion Doe,
Support Eldridge.
support Eldridge. Is there questions or comments on the budget amendment?
Yes, Madam Chair. It was the question, I see that the budget amendment in one of the parts is including additional election workers. I'm assuming those are workers that are actually working on the election. Could that be clarified if those approval of the election workers will come before the Elections Commission?
Madam Supervisor?
Clerk Rowe.
Yeah, it's required by law that all the workers for both the AV count board and for all the polls have to be approved by the Election Commission.
So
Thank
yeah,
you, Madam Supervisor.
okay. All right. We have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
It adjourned at 5:31.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.